Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى لا سيما المصطفى صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Brothers and sisters, welcome to another edition of your program Ask Huda. This is a pre-recorded episode since we have a long list of pending email questions and messages that I received on my page. The first question is from Brother Faiz Jafri. He says, regarding making dua and raising hands together during the congregational prayers, is this act permissible even if I do it individually? Well, basically you're talking about making the dua of the qunut in the witr prayer. If you're praying Taraweeh or Tahajjud or night prayer and you happen to pray in congregation, or even if you're praying at home along with your wife and you make the qunut. And al-qunut in the witr prayer is sunnah, is recommended. And if you do, then it's also recommended to raise both hands for the imam and the followers as well. Also, there is another form of qunut which is known as qunut al-nawazil, or a special invocation will be done in the last rak'ah of each fard prayer of the 5 daily prayers. Once there is a calamity that afflicted the ummah or a city or a county of the ummah, then the Prophet ﷺ used to pray for the relief of this calamity. Whenever there was a calamity concerning 70 of the companions who have been massacred, the Prophet ﷺ kept praying, making qunut in the 5 daily prayers against Ri'lin wa Dakwan, 2 tribes who attacked some of his companions, and so on. If this is the case, then it's also recommended to raise both hands while making dua, whether you do it in congregation or if you do it individually. The second question is from Sister Hannah Khan. Sister Hannah, where Hannah says, is it required to offer 2 rak'ahs at the miqat in order to make the niyyah of Umrah, and 2 rak'ahs after completing the Umrah at Marwah after doing a sa'i? I always used to do that, but I was informed that the Prophet ﷺ never did so. Well, with regards to the 2 rak'ahs before Ihram, there is not a particular sunnah to be done before the Ihram. I mean, it is not prescribed to initiate 2 rak'ahs, especially in order to assume or formulate the intention of Ihram. But it is recommended to do your Ihram after every prayer, any prayer. Let's say at the miqat you entered a masjid and you prayed Tahiyatul Masjid, so that's a sunnah. You can do the talbiyah and say labbaika umratan afterward. So it is recommended, but there is no particular sunnah of 2 rak'ahs before the ihram. As far as the 2 rak'ahs after finishing the umrah, that is not prescribed as well. Keep in mind that in the haram, during any time of the day and the night, other than the 3 times which are known as awqatul karaha, which is dislike to pray any voluntary prayer, such as between Fajr prayer and until 20 minutes past sunrise, and 20 minutes before the sun moves away from its meridian, before the adhan of the dhuhr, until the adhan is called, and after Salatul Asr until sunset. These are 3 times which is disliked to offer any unnecessary prayer. Unnecessary in a sense that it is not compulsory. Rather, it is voluntary. Otherwise, throughout the day, it is recommended to offer as much nawafil as you want, whether during the day or during the night, especially in the haram. But once you intend that these 2 rak'ahs is to wrap up my umrah, that is not prescribed. You can, after finishing your umrah, start praying 2, 4, 6, 8, up to as many number of rak'ahs as you wish. But there is no particular sunnah after finishing the umrah. Rather, there is a sunnah of performing tawaf. Whether this tawaf is tawaf al-qudum, tawaf al-ifada, I mean mandatory tawaf, or voluntary tawaf, which you can do 24/7. There is no dislike time to offer tawaf. 24/7 you can perform tawaf. In this case, after tawaf, it is prescribed to pray 2 rak'ahs, sunnatul tawaf. And in this case, you can pray it even during waqtul karaha. Why? Because it's a prayer that has a reason. Similar to praying tahiyatul masjid when you enter the masjid after asr. It is time, it's one of the 3 times which is disliked to pray unnecessary nawafil, not prescribed. But this is prescribed, the greeting of the masjid, or the 2 sunnah of performing tawaf once you're done with your tawaf. But there is no 2 rak'ahs after the sa'i. The third question is from Brother Jamil bin Brilliance. Brother Jamil says, what is the punishment for using illegal drugs? If you're asking about the Sharia prescribed punishment, it is the same punishment for drinking any intoxicant. Because Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said in the hadith, كل مسكر حرام. In another narration he said, كل مسكر خمر وكل خمر حرام, which means any intoxicant in the form of liquid, in the form of solid substance such as the hashish, the marijuana, any drugs in the form of weeds, solid or powder that some people inhale it, or in the form of injection, the purpose is to make the person absent-minded or make him get high. Shaykh al-Islam Ahmad ibn Taymiyyah, may Allah have mercy on him, talked about the hashish or the weed, and he said it is the same like drinking because the effective cause in both is the same. So by analogy, they incur the same punishment. If somebody deliberately and after knowing that this is prohibited and still consumed any of the narcotic drugs or the substance which people take in order to get high or intoxicated, that is forbidden, it incurs the same punishment of drinking. What is the punishment of drinking? Drinking alcohol, whether a big amount or a little amount. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِنَّمَا الْخَمْرُ وَالْمَيْسِرُ وَالْأَنصَابُ وَالْأَزْلَامُ رِجْسٌ مِّنْ عَمَلِ الشَّيْطَانِ فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. In this ayah, Allah the Almighty referred to the prohibition of drinking of intoxicants along with other prohibitions, such as gambling, idol worshipping, throwing drawing lots. This is all forbidden as form of gambling. But it did not discuss the punishment. The punishment rather is discussed in falsely accusing chaste men or women with adultery, lashing 80 lashes. And that happens as a result when the person gets intoxicated and he starts yahzi, says what he doesn't realize, and accuse people in their honor. So the punishment in the Quran is 80 lashes, and that is the same punishment for drinking. The Imam, the leader of the Muslim community, may add to that another punishment which is called ta'zir, because there is a punishment for the consumer, the person who consumed the narcotic drugs, the person who drank, and there is a punishment for the person who propagates that, makes it available for people, imports it, sells it. So the dealers, So the punishment could be very severe to even a capital punishment because they spread corruption and mischief on earth. But as far as the punishment for using illegal drugs in Islam, it is the same like the punishment of drinking. May Allah the Almighty protect us, our family members and our children against all evil. Ameen. Brother Adil Rushdi says in the fourth question, can you say to me if downloading is haram? You have to specify which kind of downloading. I may download all the free materials which are lawful. The contents are lawful and they're free. People who upload lectures, documentaries, whatever on YouTube, they know that it is for free. And they posted them for this reason, to be watched. So when people download them, and they download books, they download soft copies which are for free, that is definitely permissible. The issue is concerning when something is copyrighted and people put it only for subscription. In this case, we should respect their personal ownership and the right to benefit financially from their invention, from the effort that they made. The fifth question is from Sister Shazia Chaudhry. Sister Shazia says, can you give me the proper procedure for the prayers, also the Taraweeh prayers? As you all know, brothers and sisters, Alhamdulillah, we do have a program that Huda TV filmed a few years ago, which is known as the Prophet's Prayer. About 13 episodes. They're short episodes, like 13 minutes each or 12 minutes, but inshallah they're very beneficial. So I would kindly request you to download them or watch them for free on any of the websites which they have, such as YouTube and otherwise. And they're also on our website, Huda TV website. You can enjoy learning how the Prophet ﷺ used to pray from the beginning takbir to the end, to the taslim, according to the sound hadith which described the manner of the Prophet's prayer sallallahu alayhi wasallam. As far as Taraweeh prayer, I also believe that we discussed this matter repeatedly, but the ideal way of praying Taraweeh is to pray 8 rak'ahs 2 by 2, long rak'ahs. You recite long recitation, you make long comfortable ruku' and similarly sujood, and then you pray the shafa and the witr, either 2 and 1 separate, or the 3 rak'ahs all together. And that doesn't mean that I'm not allowed to pray extra. You can pray extra rak'ahs, and you can also pray lesser number of rak'ahs. If you only pray 2 rak'ahs, that is qiyamul layl. But the Taraweeh, as I said, the ideal is 8 plus 3, that is 11 rak'ahs. People at the time of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ prayed more than that. They divided the recitation and they shortened the recitation in order to increase the number of rak'ahs so that it will be affordable for everybody, because this is mere sunnah, and it is emphatic sunnah though. Sister Noura Aida. Sister Noura says in the 6th question, what about using something with animal prints, like wallet? Does it still consider haram to use such wallet? Well, if you're using it to display it, then it's not permissible. As we agreed before, according to the sound hadith, it is not permissible to have a complete image in the form of drawing or pictures against curtains or against the wall or against one's clothes if the image is complete. If the image is incomplete, then no problem. Why? Because this is not a living being. It's missing a head, or it's only a head without the body. But a complete animal, because of the prohibition against that in the sound hadith, it is not permissible. The 7th question from Zishan Ahmad. He says, what is the opinion on talking or correcting one on a matter of deen, with the people of deviance and how to talk to them if these are your family members. Thank you, Brother Zishan. The ruling or the opinion on giving advices to people, that is something which every Muslim must do. Allah the Almighty said initially in Surah Al-Asr that all mankind are lost except those who believe in Allah in the last day and do good deeds and enjoin one another to what is good and enjoin one another to patience. And Allah the Almighty said, you are indeed the best ummah produced to mankind for the following quality, because you enjoin what's right and you forbid what is evil. Then in another ayah, Allah the Almighty said, وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. Excuse me. The believing men and women are supporters and allies to one another. They support one another in every form, in every shape which is legitimate, and on every level, including يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. They enjoin one another to what is good, and they forbid one another against what is evil. So it is a duty of every person to give da'wah, to talk to people if he realizes that they are erring, they are doing something which is forbidden or mere dislike, or inventing in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, in a sound hadith, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not exempt any Muslim from the task of changing the evil and forbidding what is prohibited. He said, he amongst you, whoever sees an evil thing, should correct it, should try to change it. And he mentioned the different levels of changing the evil. He referred, number one, to the hand, which means authority, if you are an authoritative person. You spoke about the family. If you are a family father, you do have this kind of authority. When a child is kind of naughty, playful, and does not want to pray, so you say, you're not going to eat with us unless if you pray. You're grounded. You're deprived from your allowance. I'm taking away the bike that I got you. You do have the authority to correct your child, as much as we do when it comes to worldly interest. You did not do your homework, you're grounded. I'm taking away your cell phone or your iPad or your laptop. Why? Because you overstayed your allowed time in playing games, or you failed the test, or you had very bad grades. So you do have the authority to change that. Similarly, if you are an authoritative person in the family, a family father, a person on a charge, well, you should use this authority to prevent your daughter from going out not wearing proper clothes, not wearing hijab. Likewise, your wife. It is your right, and you do have the authority. The second, if you're not an authoritative person, if you are a brother and there is a guardian in the family, or if you are a sister and you see your brother is doing something bad, smoking weeds, befriending a girl, doing bad things online, what could you do? You don't have any authority over him. Then advise by the tongue, فَبِلِسَانِهِ. Advise him, speak to him kindly. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described how to approach any person, not only a family member, but any person who's an invitee. To preach, he said, ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن. Call unto the path of your Lord via the means of wisdom, good admonition. And if it have to come to an argument, still argue with one which is best. إن ربك هو أعلم بمن ضل عن سبيله وهو أعلم بالمهتدين. This last segment of this ayah is very significant, which means you cannot force people to hidayah. You cannot force people to be rightly guided. You can only give da'wah with wisdom, with a good reminder. Allah, your Lord, knows best who is going astray and who is worthy of guidance, so that He will grant him guidance. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to what is best, Do not forget that one of the best means and tools of da'wah is making dua for your invitees. Before talking to him or to her, asking Allah to soften their hearts, to make them accept the truth, because the hearts are the controllers of the bodies. The heart, once the heart is open to accept the truth, the person is willing to change overnight. But once the heart is in a shield and has a lock on top of it, that's it. Nothing will benefit him, not even the Quran, not even the reminder of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If all the prophets were revived and stood before him and gave him da'wah, then, as Allah said, أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا, such heart has a lock on top of it. He would only see the truth as falsehood and would see the light as darkness. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open our hearts to accept the truth. Before the break, I would like to take another question, which is Sister Aisha in the 8th question. Is it acceptable for parents to refuse marriage based on ethnicity and not being a citizen of the country? Note that my parents are Sufi and I am not, and I'm 29 years old. There are more than one question in one, or more than one aspect discussed in your question. Number one, with regards to refusing the proposal because of different ethnicities or different backgrounds. الكفاءة معتبرة في النكاح. الكفاءة is the qualification. The husband must be qualified to marry this bride. Qualified to her, qualified to meet the requirements of the whole family. And the kafa'a, which all the scholars agree to, and which Al-Imam Malik ibn Anas, may Allah have mercy on him, said that is the only mean of the kafa'a, the quality, is ad-deen. If the person is religiously committed, and if the person has good manners, honesty, and trustworthiness, then he is qualified. He relied on a sound hadith in which Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إن جاءكم من ترضون دينه وأمانته فزوجوه إلا تفعلوا تكن فتنة في الأرض وفساد عريض. Whenever somebody proposes to your girl, whom you trust his deen and his manners, then you should accept that proposal. You should give him your daughter in marriage. If he's qualified, in addition to other means of qualifications, but the main and the most important quality is the religious commitment and the manners. Well, if you don't, because he is not from your locality, or not from your family, or his family is inferior to your family, as a result of that, or he does not speak our language, as a result of that, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that would lead to the widespread of mischief and corruption on earth. And the practice of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the loudest proof in this regard. He gave his cousin Zainab bint Jahsh, whom later on became his wife, he gave her in marriage to one who used to be a slave, Zayd ibn Haritha. And she is Zainab Qurashiyah. Qurashiyah belong to the tribe of Quraysh, which is the most noble tribe. But Zayd ibn Haritha is a believer, and he is a black slave. It doesn't matter, but he's qualified because of his religious qualities. Then later on, the Prophet ﷺ gave Fatima bint Qais, another noble woman, to his son, Usama ibn Zayd ibn Haritha. Usama, the son of Zayd, who was another Zayd ibn Haritha was a slave, and he gave him Zainab bint Jahsh in marriage. So that blows any suggestion of, oh, but he's from a noble family, she's from a noble family, and he is from an inferior family. According to Al-Imam Malik, what really counts is the qualification of ad-deen and the manners. Of course, Al-Imam Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy on him, widened the area of al-kafa'a, and he suggested the language and who accepted Islam before, and the parents, the family lineage and wealth, and the language, and all of that. But I refer to the most sound view in this regard. Let's take a short break, and we'll be back inshallah in a few minutes. Stay tuned.
your part, a slogan often heard but rarely implemented.
We need to make sure that we are from those people who are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase us in knowledge.
Doing our part for Islam needs both knowledge and actions.
You don't have to be able to present the whole of Islam, but at least you have to make sure that what you tell the people is what you know.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. The following question is actually the 9th question is from Haval Ismail. Haval says in his question, Islam is mixed with my blood, but it is about a month. An evil idea has come to my mind and whispers to me that Allah does not exist and Quran is not sent down by Allah, and tells me that the Quran is only magic, and I don't want to lose my beautiful religion. First of all, Haval, I would like to assure you that you are a believer. Alhamdulillah, shukla. So what about those thoughts, and how did you judge him as a believer? Because look what he said. He said an evil idea. So he recognizes that as an evil idea, and he is very certain and he is fully aware as nothing but the whispers of Satan. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam warned his companions that Satan may whisper to them about Allah himself, and whether he really exists or not, and how he was created and who created him. He warned against that, and he said, when you come to this level, then think only about the creation and the qualities of Allah, not about the being of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yani, normally when we get involved in debates with atheists who are basically believers in this condition which you described it as an evil idea, they say there is no God, and they are very agnostic, and there is no Quran, there are no prophets. Well, if there is no God, then everything was created haphazardly and basically by mere chance. They try to forge some theories in order to, justify their misbelief. Well, here we begin by addressing this matter logically and also scientifically. Then we refer to Quranic verses which support that in order to establish the proof. So what do we use in that? We use the Quranic methodology of proving the presence of God. Then we use the Quranic methodology in proving the oneness of the Lord. Then we use the Quranic methodology in proving via logic that God exists, and He is the only one who is worthy of worship, and we should fulfill our duties to Him. Then we also, via logic, prove what the Quran proved, that there will be resurrection after death. And that is called belief in monotheism. Al-ilmu nur, knowledge is light. Knowledge takes people from darkness into light. It's a lot easier for Satan to take down a worshipper, a person who has a huge prayer mark of prayer on his forehead, and a woman who's constantly in worship but without knowledge. Knowledge is a shield, is a fortress that protects a person against the deviant ideas, the deviant parties, and the whispers of a shaitan. Imagine when one of the very righteous people saw a huge being sitting on a throne between the heavens and the earth, blocking the horizon. And he said to him, Ya Abdul Qadir, I am your Lord. I want you to put yourself in his position and see in this huge thing, which you don't know what is it, but it fills the whole view, the whole horizon. And he talks to you and says, I'm your Lord, very happy with you, I love you, and I waived the mandate of the prayer for you. You don't have to pray anymore because I love you. The prayer is for the weak ones. So at that, this scholar, because he was a scholar, he said, اخسأ يا عدو الله, may you be disgraced, O the enemy of Allah. Then he sought refuge with Allah against the outcast Satan, and this creature disappeared. This creature disappeared. Why? Knowledge says Allah ordained the prayer even upon the prophets. Is there anyone who is dearer to Allah than the prophets? The answer is definitely none. There are some Sufi mystics who say there are some peers or some poles or some awliya who are dearer to Allah than even the prophets. And that is absolutely nullified and proven to be mere falsehood by the Quran. إن الله اصطفى آدم ونوحا وآل إبراهيم وآل عمران على العالمين. Allah chose. الله يصطفي من الملائكة رسلا ومن الناس. He chooses and He chose already from the angels and from the human beings whom He likes, the elite, to send them with His message. So people to them are inferior to them. And Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the dearest and the most loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have many ayat and many hadith in this reference. Yet Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, until the last breath, he was very keen to attend the prayer. And sometimes when he was in his death sickness, he ordered them to pour 7 water containers over him in order to cool off his fever. And he said, support me. And they supported him until he made it to the Qibla. Until he made it to the Qibla. Then afterward, he would pray while sitting down or while on his bed. He did not skip the prayer in any condition, not even on the battlefield. So that's an indication that if somebody is asking me to skip the prayer because he claims that he is God and he loves me, he must be a liar. Allah did not waive the mandate of the prayer for Prophet Muhammad or for any of the prophets. Okay. So basically what I'm trying to bring to your attention, brothers and sisters, is knowledge. Knowledge is the key. Those thoughts would never cross the mind of a true seeker of knowledge, because every day he's earning some useful knowledge. He's reading the Quran. A Meccan pagan who happened to come to Al-Madinah, and he was either among the prisoners of war or came to free a prisoner of war, Al-Mut'im ibn Adi. He heard the Prophet ﷺ reciting in the Maghrib prayer of Surah Al-Tur. Then he came across ayah number 35 and 36. And this guy was a disbeliever. He believes in idols. He doesn't believe in Allah. He doesn't believe in Muhammad. Then the Prophet ﷺ happened to recite the following ayah, and he says, أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ أَمْ خَلَقُوا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ بَلْ لَا يُوقِنُونَ. These 2 ayat made this guy say, فَكَادَ قَلْبِي أَنْ يَطِيرُ. My heart was about to fly. It shocked him. These rhetorical questions, were they created without anything, without a creator, or have they created themselves? The same questions we keep proposing to those who didn't believe in God. Who created you? Well, according to the law of cause and effect, every action must have a reaction. And everything happen must have a cause. And something led it to happen. So, who caused us to exist? And what is the reason behind our existence? The system, the galaxies and the stars floating in this orbit in a very accurate system. والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون. This ayat of Surah Yasin talking about the sun and the moon floating in their orbits in an accurate system. Not a single one overcome the other. No, everything is happening with an accurate measure until the day of judgment. Will these informations of the space, of the absent world, of the unseen to us being provided to us, then gradually over hundreds of years, now it's been more than 1400 years since the Quran was revealed. many truths being unfolded to confirm what the Quran has proven. When you read every night, when you get up to pray the tahajjud, the ayat which the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam recommended to be recited before the tahajjud, when you get up from your sleep, إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. This conclusion by the end of the second ayah, ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا, our Lord. So they recognize that there is a creator and He is the Lord. You have not created all of that in vain. Rather, glory be to you, so protect us against the fire of hell. As a result of that, they believe that there is Allah and there is hereafter and there is punishment and reward. As a result of what? As a result of investigating and studying in this open universal book, indeed in the creation of the heavens and the earth and in the alternation of the day and the night. There are signs for people who reflect and ponder, for men of sanity, of aql, for those who ponder. When you just bother to take a look around you and reflect upon this open universal book in light with the ayat which talked about that, then you end up saying, Subhanak, praise and glory be to you. ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. So I advise you to increase your knowledge. Attend the Aqidah class. If you don't have the means, if you don't have a chance, if you don't have an available class or school nearby, you can download some classes of the Aqidah, especially belief in the Lordship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the Lordship and in the oneness of Allah and in the unity of His names and attributes. And examine the ayat and the hadith which talk about that. Then you will be a firm believer. I can assure you that non-Muslims are easy to convert because their belief is very vulnerable, very fragile. Yani it is not based on sound proofs, and it is not compatible with logic, while the case is absolutely on the contrary when it comes to Islam. It makes all the sense and all your questions are being answered. So I assure you, alhamdulillah, you are a believer, but in order to maintain your belief, you need to take my previous advice. Sister Amina Muhammad says in her question, and that is the 10th question, I observe that a lot of new baby clothes have images. It's rare to get baby clothes without images. Should I use the clothes, such clothes for my baby? In the earlier segment, I answered that neither adults nor youngsters should wear anything which have a complete image of a living being. If this image is missing an organ, of missing the head or the eyes, so it will make it incomplete, that is okay. But to have a complete image of a human being or of an animal, that is not permissible according to the sound hadith in this regard. The 11th question is from Brother Fahd Zahid. He says, what about organ donations? If acceptable in Islam or not? As I reside in the USA, we are given an option in our driving license to take this question. I had taken yes with the thought of, if I can help one human being, I have saved humanity. Brother Fahd, may Allah bless you and accept from you your good intention. The issue of organ transplantation and furthermore organ donations have been discussed thoroughly over the past 2 or 3 decades. But recently, the view of the scholars and the fiqh fatwa committees are more inclined into the permissibility of donating your body parts or some of your body parts to save the life of a human being in case that the person is pronounced dead. What is the condition? The person is actually dead, not on life support, and he may die at any moment. And that's why it is very risky when people take yes on their driver's license. Sometimes in some hospitals or healthcare centers, they rush things and they say, you know, if they don't have the ethics of their practice, and if they badly need the heart while it's still beating, or the body part of this person, they rush this process. But let me answer you professionally with regards to donating one's body part or parts after death, whether himself or his family member, if they figure that it would save the life of another human being, particularly a believer. I said now the more correct view and the view of the vast majority of the scholars who made ijtihad in this regard is inclined into the opinion of yes, it is permissible, provided it is mere donation. Mere donation. It is not for any compensation. So neither the heirs would sell the body part of the person, or the person requires that this body part should be sold and I would give the money to my heirs. No, it's mere donation. Similarly, if the person is alive and he's willing to give one of his kidneys, which he can survive with only one, it must be mere donation, no compensation whatsoever. What if later on the person, the beneficiary, wanted to reward the person, the donor, he gave him a gift, or his family members, that is accepted. But it was not preconditioned. We did not agree to sell any part of my body because it is not for sale. In the hadith, which some of the scholars, some of the very well-respected scholars in the past, such as Sheikh Abdul Aziz ibn Baz and Ibn Uthaymeen, may Allah have mercy on them, held the view that it is not permissible based on a hadith which says, كسر عظم الميت ككسر عظمه حيا. If a Muslim, for instance, died, that his body is still sacred. He cannot break a bone of a dead person because it is as bad as breaking his bone while he is still alive. But now, and based on the benefit-risk ratio, المصالح والمفاسد, that is going to save the life of a human being. And meanwhile, we're not going to mutilate the body of the dead person. And that person is professionally and actually pronounced dead. Then it is permissible. Wallahu ta'ala a'la wa a'lam. Ustaz Haruni in the 12th question says, I have 5 cousins and many others who would like to become Muslims. But because we hail from a family with a strong Christian background, how can we convince our grandmother, who owns a church, and mother, and the thousands of church members? We also want to know if it is permitted in Islam to turn a church into a mosque. Multiple questions. Number one, with regards to somebody who's convinced with Islam and with belief in the oneness of Allah and monotheism, and he is reluctant to accept Islam because of he or she, family members, community members, society, or any pressure. Once the person recognizes the truth, they must adopt it. Revealing that, disclosing that, that's another issue. Sometimes you may disclose your Islam for a while until the time is convenient. But you cannot say, I cannot accept Islam before I discuss with my family members, because we already agreed before that on the day of judgment, each person will be only responsible for himself or herself. Rather, will disown anyone else and everybody else in order to free themselves. So now we recognize the truth. You should not delay, you should not postpone it. And we as Muslims, if you sense from somebody that they are interested to accept Islam, they are inclined towards monotheism, you should assist them to make that acknowledgement immediately. Then we discuss other matters later. Other issues should come later on, follow after announcing the Shahada. Because every second counts. What if the person died without pronouncing the Shahada? He died in a state of kufr. Wal-'iyadu billah. So right away announce the Shahada. Then we discuss what is the strategy through which that we convince our grandmother. Through raising questions, logical questions, presenting serious issues concerning belief, giving them books, da'wah materials, inviting people to debate. These are all available options. Will choose the most convenient, but once I become already a Muslim and I know what I'm doing. Okay? As far as the thousands of the members of the church and your grandmother, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us in the Quran that it is He who guides whomever He wants. So we do our best, invite people to believe in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in monotheism. If they believe, alhamdulillah, they're saved, and we are so lucky that they are saved through us. If they don't believe, مَا عَلَى الرَّسُولِ إِلَّا الْبَلَاغِ. Your duty was simply to convey the message. Thirdly, with regards to the church and converting the church into a mosque, that's too early to discuss. And as far as a church which is for sale, and Muslims purchased a church and converted into a masjid, that is permissible. The Kaaba, brothers and sisters, the Meccan pagans have filled it with idols, statues inside and outside. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam simply renovated the Kaaba by cleaning this greatest place of worship from all the idols, and immediately offered the prayer in it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to His straight path and keep us steadfast on that path until we meet Him safely on the Day of Judgment. Then grant us salvation. Allahumma ameen. By that we come to the end of this edition of your program Ask Huda. Until next time, I leave you in the care of Allah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah is my